Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to M4J-Hatfield Racing here on F1 2021. This week we are in Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix, which in real life was one of the most entertaining of the season, to be honest, mainly because of what happened on the very first corner of the very first lap, when the battering Bottas decided to wipe out half the grid. To be fair, was it Stroll as well, was the other one who decided just to plough into the back of the car in front? Which is something I would never do, of course. I'm far too good for that. Anyway, you saw there, P1 sped up. We didn't do on-track stuff. I'm actually really tempted to make that mainstay now, and just have P1 as quick practice, just to get some points on the board. Then P2 go out and try and fill some of the gaps. And then if I do fail any for any reason, which spoiler alert, I do kind of do here, then we'll come back in P3 and we'll try and fill those gaps. Now, the Hungarian Grand Prix, considering the fact that this is one of the races that I watched literally from start to finish, didn't take my eyes off the action. Mainly because, I mean, it was such a good race. You know, as I said, first corner, first lap was entertaining, don't get me wrong. But watching Hamilton try and hunt down Ocon and getting blocked by Alonso, plus Ocon winning, you know, there's so much to watch, so much to look at. Every lap had something happening. And because of that, I thought I'd learned the track quite well from watching every single lap of the race. Normally I do sort of zone out at the midpoint before it gets entertaining again towards the end. Particularly when the pit window opens. That tends to be when races do sort of fall into a bit of a lull. Unless it's Monza, of course, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So yeah, to actually think that you've learnt the track pretty well and then go wide on almost every corner, including losing the back end there on the penultimate corner, not the best moment. I believe this is listed as the fastest flying lap of P1, which wasn't actually that fast, to be honest.
You've nailed what we asked for. Keep it up.
Just let Jeff talk there. I was under the delta considerably, but still felt like I had more to offer. And you can kind of see here in the P3, there were a few gaps still that needed plugging. Thankfully, though, we do get most of it done. The resource points are going up, which is very, very good to see. And now we go chat with Claire for a second or two.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. You really put a lot of effort into practice today. Are you testing new components? Do you have any comments about this team? You left some bodywork out there on the track. Were you struggling for grip? Appreciate your time.
So I think that was Tom trying to save my blushes a little bit there. But yeah, I did leave some bodywork out on the track. I had a couple of bumps and scrapes. I don't think there was any lasting damage, if I recall. It was mainly just, you know, going off into the gravel, the occasional spin. Nothing, you know, not hitting barriers or anything. It wasn't quite that bad. It was not Silverstone all over again. That qualifying lap at Silverstone, oh my days. Right, Q1 then. Here we go. So, at this point, I started to feel like I had the track reasonably sussed out. I kept forgetting about the chicane at the top of the hill. You'll see the one in just a second if Tom shows the full lap. This left-hander here, every time I tapped the brakes, I just kept going straight on. This corner here, sometimes it's flat, sometimes it's not. It depends on how much fuel you're carrying, the mass of the car, all that stuff. This one here, it's a small tap of the brake and then just gun it immediately. This one here is kind of the same. You can accelerate pretty early out of the corner. And it's this chicane here that I kept forgetting existed. I seem to have remembered it here, but I do remember later on when the race starts, there were a couple of laps where I got a little too excited and just completely forgot that there's a chicane there. This is the bit I always remember. You go flat out around the left-hander, then immediately have to brake for the right-hander. It's a very frustrating track in that you never really get any sections after the first two straights where you can properly just gun it. Overtaking is very, very limited here in Hungary. If you're brave, you can send it up the inside of the chicane. We did the esports challenge for racing games, and Toby, our resident best driver, shall we say, just kept sending it up the inside on that chicane, which made me think I could send it up the inside of that chicane. Spoiler alert, I could not send it up the inside of that chicane. Definitely not. 12th fastest then in Q1. I believe Louis was second bottom or completely bottom. I can't actually remember. But here we are now in Q2. And again, pretty much same as. Still getting the track dialed in. I don't believe this is my first lap of the session. I believe it's the second. I've started doing like a... Obviously, you either do the flying lap start or you do the drive out start. Then I do a hot lap, which I wouldn't call my actual hot lap. And then I tend to do that just to get a delta. And then I try and do my actual qualifying lap. To try and beat the delta, basically. And it gives you a fair idea as to whether you're going faster or slower than you should be. Purple first sector there, but I think I'm one of the first cars out on tracks. This must be the first lap. So because of that, I guess everything I've just said has gone out the window. But I am trying to do that from now on. I did it at Silverstone. I did it, I think, in France and Austria. And I'm doing it here as well. If I'm not entirely happy with the first lap, if I absolutely nail it, then there's no reason to do a second one. But that very, very rarely happens. So it's normally just go out again, try and beat your first lap, and see where we go from there. Coming up to the third from last corner, and then the penultimate corner. See, I'm still struggling a little bit with the stability of the car. I have got the Racing Games car set up again, which, to be fair, has done me a lot of favours. So I'm not dissing that at all. But the back end does seem very, very happy on this track. But I do also have, I don't think this has been shown yet, I believe it's during this part of qualifying, I do have some issues with the DRS. And that causes this.
That was a heck of an impact.
So yeah, the DRS got stuck open, which meant my qualifying ended a little early. And I had no rear traction because of that, basically. So yeah, wasn't the worst qualifying. You know, we still qualified 13th despite everything. So I'd say actually that was pretty much a win as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, we could have perhaps made it into Q3. We weren't that far off the pace. In fact, we were only I think 0.4. I'm trying to read because I got my preview thing. It's in what, quarter resolution, so I'm trying to read it. I think that says 1.8. And 1.5 was the cutoff, so I wasn't far off. And if I'd perhaps kept the stability going, might have had a good lap. Who knows?
It's race day in Budapest as we get ready for another round of the Formula One World Championship. We don't expect too many retirements at this track. There are plenty of current and former drivers with flawless finish rates here. In particular, Ralf Schumacher. He made it across the line in all 10 of his Hungarian Grand Prix starts. We're northeast of Budapest for the race today at the 2.7-mile Hungaroring circuit. 14 corners here, 8 to the right and 6 to the left, on a track where downforce is king and passing is notoriously difficult. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, can I get your take on Max Verstappen? That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Norris, Charles Leclerc and Sainz, Ricciardo, Gasly, Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel, Stroll, the engineer, Esteban Ocon and Hamilton, Tsunoda, Raikkonen, George Russell and Antonio Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher, Latifi, Delatraz and Nikita Mazepin. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
Here we go then, race start. And I mentioned this last time out, but I'm going to mention it again here. Shifting up from first to second almost immediately. Look at the traction I get compared to everyone else. It gives me enough space to completely cut across the grid from right to left. We have got some wear on the ICE, so at that point I was thinking, well, there goes my pace. But then sending it round the outside of turn 1 here, I actually made up some places. Started 13th, and by the end of turn 1 here, I'm up to 8th. Very briefly, of course, because Sainz then does get the cutback. Now, at this point, I couldn't see the racing line. So I did struggle a little bit to find some space on the tarmac, and it does drop me first of all back down to 9th, and then Alonso gets the jump on me there as well, which then actually throws me completely off, and I end up dropping back down to 12th. So good start. I'm going to put it down to a very, very good start, but I then got a little bit flustered because of the good start, and that did throw some issues. Now, Ricciardo has been the bane of my existence for the longest time, and here as well, he tries to get the jump on me. I don't think I did much wrong there. I think it was my corner, and he drove into me and ended up spinning as a result. So, let me know in the comments if you think perhaps I was a little too aggressive there. That was one of the only times, though, where I feel like I actually left space. I deliberately braked late going into turn 1 there to try and make the space for him to get through the inside, and he just didn't take it. So, I don't know. And speaking of overly aggressive drivers who are about to get spun, here comes Max Verstappen. Thank you for the zoom in, Tom. I was hoping you would do that. He does actually drive into the back of me there. I didn't see what happened originally. I just saw a Red Bull spinning in the rear views, and then I got the warning that I'd collided with Verstappen. But again, watching that back, I don't think I did an awful lot wrong there. I don't think I gave him space, but he shouldn't need space. He wasn't coming up the inside or anything. I think he literally drove into my rear wing. This is me trying to get into the pits again because Louis came in. And I thought, okay, once Louis is out, I'll come in. So again, I spent half a lap furiously pressing the box now button. And then, you know, it does let me in. Now, I had a really slow pit entry here, so you'll watch me drop down the field. I was second. I didn't actually know I was second. It says here in the notes, up to second through pitting. I did not realise that that's where I was. So that's awesome. Very briefly second place in an F1 race. It's always good to see. Unfortunately, not like Ocon, I wasn't able to finish the race within the top 3. But still alright, coming out in 11th place. The option is here still to finish in the points, managing to just about keep control against Lance there. Again, I think I did to him there what Ricciardo did to me. He didn't give me as much space. He didn't have to give me space because he was way ahead of me. There's Jeff telling me that DRS is now broken in the other direction, so now it won't open. So what you're about to see here is me hunting down Lance without DRS. I don't have DRS, it's stuck closed. In qualifying and practice, I had a DRS that was stuck open. Now I've got one that is stuck closed. So what you're about to see here is entirely driver skill and a little bit of the overtake button, but mainly driver skill. And short shifting, that helps too. Oh yeah, speaking of short shifting, I was advised to short shift a lot through the race. I think in the last few laps, I don't drop below 4th gear, purely because of the wear on the ICE. I thought it would be better to stay in a higher gear, try and get more traction out of the corners and gain speed that way, rather than constantly shifting and causing more wear to the engine. You'll see just how bad the wear was on the engine in just a second, but for the time being, at this point of the race, I didn't know how bad it was. Like, you look through the rear view there and everything looks good. It might explain why Verstappen crashed into me, though. Let's put it that way. But yeah, hunting down Lance Stroll. Does it actually say... Yes, in the notes, I believe it does say... fighting Stroll. DRS fault message followed by fastest lap. So this is my fastest lap of the race by the sounds of it. And then fighting Stroll for 11th. That's coming up very, very shortly. So already I've gained like a second a lap on him. Using the overtake here, still don't have DRS. And then what's this, a lap later? We fly down the pit straight again, send it into turn 1. I don't know how I got that car stopped. I genuinely thought I was going to do a Bottas again. A little bit of wheel bashing there. I do have DRS now. It did come back. Jeff never told me it had come back. It just came back. I suddenly had the ability to press Y again. And then despite going wide on turn 2 there, I still managed to get away from Lance. And just legged it at that point. I thought, I'm so lucky here. I couldn't believe I actually caught a driver on my own merit. That was the surprise for me. Tsunoda gets past Lance here. I think Lance actually hit me or rode the curb or something, and that's what let Tsunoda through. I've no idea. Again, I wasn't really paying much attention to what was going on behind me. Perhaps I should start paying more attention to what's going on behind me. But at this point, we start pulling away from Yuki as well, which is awesome. Holding back Tsunoda, the notes say here. Lewis having an issue. Now that's something I don't normally like to hear, but you can see he's starting to tumble down the order. I don't think he retires from the race though, if I remember rightly. He just has an issue. So I heard he has an issue, and then I saw yellow flags here, and I was thinking, please no safety car, please no safety car. Definitely not a virtual safety car. And then suddenly there's Lewis on the racing line. I was like, okay. He does have a habit of slowing down on the racing line recently, and he certainly did it there as well. But coming up to the penultimate end of the penultimate lap of the race, sorry, onto the final lap of the race.
Final lap of the race.
I think Tom's left the entire final lap in for me as well, which is great. Gives me time to talk over it. So we're up to 10th at this point. We've got Yuki not far behind. Lance is a little ways behind him, but could still potentially catch us if we made some mistakes. But I was about to say just in front of us, but that's not a 0 point, is it? That's a 9 point. It's a shame that I couldn't catch Ocon. I made a lot of mistakes. Thankfully, Tom's cut a few of them out for me to try and save face again. But I'd admit, I made a lot of mistakes during this race. Got my braking points all wrong. Again, I wrote the track guide for racing games here, so I should know where all the braking points are. But sometimes in the heat of battle, you do forget them. One bit that Tom left out of the video was me basically cutting that chicane. I did a Verstappen. I was fighting Verstappen, and I did a Verstappen. And just went straight across the chicane. I think I got a warning for corner cutting. Thankfully, no penalty. I think I slowed down enough that I didn't actually gain an advantage by doing it. You know, I'll use the Verstappen book of excuses as well if I'm going to use his signature moves. But coming up to the penultimate corner then on the last lap of the race. Very happy with this result, believe it or not. Starting 13th. Being 9th after the first corner, being briefly 8th after the first corner, I did feel like perhaps I could go on and do better. But considering the car was so broken by the end, you know, the engine was worn, the DRS wasn't working properly, just to finish in the points, I'm always going to be happy with that. Congratulations to Ocon, driver of the day. I can't remember who won the race, but we're about to find out anyway.
Brilliant stuff from Red Bull today. What a superb victory. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves. Let's have a quick look at how the driver standings have changed. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Let's give it to Esteban Ocon. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Red Bull pull further ahead in the standings. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. It's safe to say you're smashing everyone's expectations, isn't it? There's quite a buzz around this team at the moment. What are your thoughts on them? It was more like Dodgems than Formula One today, wasn't it? Appreciate your time.
Well, it's great to be back at your headquarters, and I've got to say, an awful lot's changed since we were last here. Let's dive in with some questions. Your facilities here are looking a little dated compared to other teams. Is there a reason for that? Things haven't quite been going your way this season. Are you going to be able to turn the team around? Your second driver really seems to be improving at a rapid pace. How dedicated are they? Would it be safe to say that in terms of team orders, your career comes first in your team? Your team's been picking up points fairly consistently. Do you think you'll be able to become a challenge to the top teams in the future? Well, thanks a lot for inviting us here. It's been fantastic.
Bit of a gap there to have some interviews, but here we are with the highlights. And already you can see where I am on the grid purely because of the smoke pouring out the back of my engine. I did not know that I had that issue when I started this race. But you can see at any point during this race, you'll be able to tell which car's mine. Let's put it that way. Here's me sending it around the outside of turn 1 then. You can actually see, I actually braked a little too early. I probably could have picked up a little bit more speed. Maybe could have got the jump on signs as well. I ended up in a Ferrari McLaren sandwich there, and I think that's one of the reasons I got sent wide in turn 2. Here's Ricardo trying to get to the push. I went way too wide there on, is that turn 3? I think that's turn 3, might be turn 4. Somehow recovered. Hamilton only just ahead of me here as well. He had a really bad qualifying. I think Q3... In fact, Q3 wasn't wet. I wondered if it was, but it definitely wasn't. I do remember now. But yeah, I mean, just look at the smoke coming out of the back of my car. How anyone behind me actually saw where they were going, I do not know. I did not realise it was that bad. The engine has now been changed, by the way. All the parts that could be changed, minus the gearbox, have now been changed for the next race, which I believe is the Belgian Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken. We'll be heading to Spa next week. There I am again, the smoking, billowing cloud. And at this point is where... What's this, the end of lap 2? I was watching the highlights here with my girlfriend, and we were both like, well, there's my car, first and foremost. And then we watched all this, and I was like, oh, we're only up to lap 3. A lot happened in the first 2 laps, to be fair. There was some really, really good driving. No wheel banging or anything. It was great. Here's Ricardo then. Is he get turned here? Yes. He gets... No, he doesn't. Yes, he does. No, he doesn't. I can't actually remember whether he gets spun there or not. He didn't appear, but then that wasn't me. That was an Alpine. This is me fighting Lance Stroll then on lap 12. Sending it up the inside. I do go wide here, and he takes a very tight line, actually. That's very tidy there from Lance. Don't see that very often. This camera angle is stupid. You wait ages for your car, or it's already gone past by the time it switches. I don't know why they decided to put a camera there. Maybe there's a camera there in real life, I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, I'm going to start wrapping up the video here so I don't run out of time like I normally do. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you're enjoying the series so far. Drop those comments down below, let me know how to improve the team, the car, all that good stuff. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support, and until next time, I will see you soon.